Hello and welcome to the MoneyMagpie Money Matters podcast. I'm Jasmine Birtles and I'm the founder of MoneyMagpie. And today I'm joined by a couple of people who have major roles at the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, or FSCS as it's also known. And that's the scheme that covers your cash in the bank up to £85,000. Actually, it covers your cash in a variety of other places too, like insurance, pensions, debt management companies, and all sorts. So it's worth knowing more about it. There's potential for financial compensation there that you need to know about. So I'm very pleased to be joined by Charlotte Durrant, who is the Employee Experience Manager within the People team at the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, and also by Richard Freeston-Clough, who's a Communications and Stakeholder Business Partner there. Hello to both of you.
Hello.
Hi. So it's Talk Money Week this week. So Richard and Charlotte, let's talk money. Specifically, to start off with, let's talk about how consumers can get money from you guys. Let's be honest, this is the important thing. How can they get money from you guys when things go wrong with their financial products? So Richard, I'll start with you, because most people know that they can get money back from their banks or building societies if they go bust, up to £85,000 currently, thanks to FSCS. But what other financial services are covered?
Yeah, you're right. People are probably most familiar with the protection that FSCS offers when a bank or building society goes bust. But we're probably one of the most comprehensive insurance schemes in the world. We cover a number of authorised products and services, from insurance to pensions, investments, financial advice, debt management, and last year funeral plans became the most recent addition to the list of products that we cover. So if a firm you've been dealing with has failed and you can't get your money back from them, we can step in to pay compensation, assuming that you meet our eligibility criteria.
So when you say failed, of course, you don't mean investments that have just gone fuck, because I mean, that's normal risk, but it's something, it's if the company just actually goes bust, really.
Yes, we may be able to help if someone's lost money, for example, as a result of unsuitable advice that they've received. So they may have been badly advised to transfer their pension and not had the risks explained to them. So that's the sort of way that we can help.
Do you find that people are wasting money on lawyers in some of these cases because they don't realise they could actually just get money back for free from FSCS?
Well, yes, in some cases, people might not realise they can claim with us directly for free. They may use a solicitor or a claims management company. However, some people might be more comfortable with a claims management service there to help them, and they're happy to pay that commission that the third party would take to help them. However, we try to encourage people to claim direct with us because obviously it puts money back into their pockets. You certainly don't need to be a financial expert to be able to claim with us, but it's up to people at the end of the day. It's quick and easy to use the tools that we have on our website. We've got a checker where you can take a minute or two at fscs.org.uk to check whether you're eligible to claim. Then you enter your basic details and we'll tell you if you're eligible. Then if you are eligible to claim, you can make an application online. Our claims specialists will take you through in a nice straightforward way. They'll use plain English to talk to you and make it as easy as possible for you to support you through the process. You can also then check the progress of your claim by logging into your online account on our website. So it really is pretty easy. And if you're not confident using computers, you could ask a friend or family member to help you along the way.
It is good. And Charlotte, I'm going to bring you in now because, you know, all of this, everything that Richard's been saying, it just seems to be something people need to talk about with one another. I mean, generally, just talking about money, insurance, pensions, all of the stuff. Do you find that consumers have problems with money issues because they're too afraid or confused to talk about it with each other?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you've raised there, Jasmine. So I think our financial situations and talking about money in general is often seen as a real taboo topic, particularly for us in the UK. A recent survey was actually carried out by the Money and Pension Service, and they found that around 29 million Brits don't feel comfortable talking about money or their financial situation. And actually the same survey found that 48% of us have worried about money at least once a week or more in the last month. So it's clearly something that's playing on our minds. I think it is a really emotive subject. It can drive kind of a lot of feelings, maybe around shame, guilt, wanting to avoid the situation. We might be worried about what other people might think if we bring up money. And also, I think when talking about it with our close friends and family, we might not want to alarm others if we are in a difficult situation. But I think not communicating about money can really affect those relationships. It can have a huge impact on our mental health. And it can actually create further financial issues, as often we won't know where to turn to get the support that we need if we don't start talking about it. I think actually sometimes figuring things out, getting things in perspective can be much easier if you do have that support. So it could be turning to an expert, or it could just be turning to someone close to you that you trust.
Yes, certainly in my experience with my own family, I realized that, you know, by not speaking to each other, certain people don't get the financial support that they need, and they're suffering needlessly, actually. And I think a lot of people really are frightened of talking about it. How can we cut through the fear and the just, you know, the sort of social anxiety of it?
I think, like any challenging topic, it really is around breaking down that taboo. So just opening up the conversation, starting that conversation, ensuring that people have the confidence to talk about it and that they have that support in place to have those conversations. So if you are struggling, I think it's all around starting small. So maybe finding those resources. There's plenty of resources online, a lot of free resources, looking for that support and just really educating yourself around money and finance. And also, I think it's around reminding people how important it is to have these conversations. So research shows that people who do talk about money and feel comfortable talking about money are able to make better financial decisions. They have stronger relationships with those close to them. If you do have children, then it's a great way to help them form good money habits. And also just having that conversation can help you feel less stressed and more in control. And building those conversations into our everyday lives, that can really help build that confidence and also the resilience to face those challenges that might be thrown at us in terms of our financial situations.
Yeah, it's a good point about children, actually, as you've mentioned children. I mean, this is something that people, it doesn't matter who you speak to, they all say we should have money education in schools, and we don't. But obviously, you know, we should do, but it's also helpful if parents can start it. I mean, how early can parents start talking to their children about money, do you think?
I think it depends on the situation and that relationship that they have. But I think if children can see that their parents are open to talking about money from an early age, then it will help them to build that confidence. And just having those conversations in that family setting is a great place to start.
There really are so many free resources online and offline as well. I mean, I'm patron of Community Money Advice, which is a free debt advice agency as well, like Step Change. There's Christians Against Poverty, there's Citizens Advice, and of course, online there's MoneyMagpie.com, brilliant, plus some others. But Richard, let's bring you in now, because I wonder, how do you see the relationship between money and mental health?
Well, Jasmine, I think there are millions of people up and down the country right now who just don't have the confidence or skills or even desire to sort of open up and talk about money. And bottling up worries, particularly, you know, during this economic crisis we're going through at the moment, can really harm your mental health. It's
true. And not only, I mean, this week is Talk Money Week. So not only is it that, but we're also coming up to International Men's Day, which reminds me of the increasing confusion that men feel when it comes to money and their role in society. Because tradition, and I think this is something we haven't talked about enough, really, generally. Traditionally, men have been seen as the breadwinners in the home, and many women still want them to be that. But then there's a lot of women now who are actually out earning their partners. Is this affecting men's confidence, Richard?
Well, I think some men perhaps feel a bit of pressure to conform to the traditional sort of strong male stereotype that we see in society. So changes over the last sort of 10 or so years, you know, might have affected their confidence. And while opening up and talking about challenges they face might be a benefit, it's not necessarily something they want to do, and it's a really, really difficult thing for them to do.
Yeah. So what can couples do when it comes to addressing this? Because we're kind of in uncharted territory, really.
I think it is just around having the conversation. I think within a partnership, it's really important to understand each other's approach to money, because it might be very different, and that can that can often be the cause of some of these conflicts. Having that open and honest conversation and being transparent. Also choosing the right moment to have these conversations. So if couples are able to, finding that quiet space, not choosing to have the conversation just before going to bed or after a stressful day at work. And also, again, looking at the resources online, because there are guides specifically around opening up the conversation with your partner around money and finance. I think if people are really struggling to have these conversations and it is causing conflict, then it is really important to seek that professional support and advice. So the Relate website has some great support. It offers individual and relationship counselling and loads of resources that people can access if they do need that support.
Yeah, because it really does seem to be the case that you have a lot of relationships where you've got one that's a spender and one that's a saver. I mean, sometimes to an extreme situation. I mean, I certainly know somebody who they were saving for a new house, and she didn't realize her husband was spending and spending, and it was only when he couldn't cope with the debts anymore that he was able to tell her. And it was pretty impressive, actually. The relationship continued, but it was a tough one. And so I guess, Charlotte, that when it comes to marriage, if you're living together, you really need to have that boring, rather unromantic conversation before you start, really, about your attitude to money and how you're going to split the bills, etc.
Yeah, I think that's a really important foundation of having that strong partnership with someone.
So finally, just to get back to the topic we started with, let's find with both of you, what's your advice to consumers that are having problems with one of their financial providers, whether it's their bank, their insurance company, financial advisor, debt advisor, whatever? What areas can the Financial Services Compensation Scheme help with? And I'll ask you first, Richard. What's your advice to consumers at the moment?
Well, as I mentioned, FSCS may be able to pay out compensation when a regulated firm fails. And we've got a list of failed firms on our website, so people can see if the firm they've been dealing with has actually gone bust and whether we might be able to help. Obviously, we're not always able to help, so there are other organisations better placed. So if people have a complaint about a firm that's still trading, or a live firm, as we call them, they are able to go to the Financial Ombudsman Service, and they can resolve disputes fairly and impartially and actually have the power to put things right. So someone's in a dispute, say, with their bank about an overcharge or the sale of a product that was unsuitable to them, they would be able to go to the Ombudsman if that's a live firm, once they'd exhausted the bank's internal complaints process, and then the Financial Ombudsman Service will be able to help them. However, if someone's in need of some advice, they can get other sorts of advice. They can get in touch with a government-backed scheme, which is Money Helper, which may be able to help them. And also, there are things like if you've got a query whether someone has someone's contacted you and whether they're actually allowed to be providing the service that they're contacting you about. Mm-hmm. The Financial Conduct Authority is a good place to look. Their website has an online financial services register, and it's a really helpful tool that you can use to just check that company is legitimate. They are authorised to sell you what they are advertising.
Yeah, because that does seem to be quite a point, because, as you say, you can help to compensate regulated firms, but you don't always know if a firm that you're dealing with is regulated. So I think that's a really important thing for anybody to deal with, particularly if, as you say, you're phoned up out of the blue, or you see it in a newspaper, or you see it online, or on Instagram, and you think, oh, that's good. It might not be. It might just be a complete scam. Let's be honest. So Charlotte, what's your advice?
I think for me, it's more from a perspective of my role as a mental health first aider, just reiterating that importance of opening up the conversation, and particularly looking for someone that you can trust to start that conversation before it gets to the stage where you're feeling so overwhelmed with financial worries and also just seeking that additional support if you do need it, because there is a lot of free support out there. So don't feel like that you have to deal with it on your own.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Richard, from the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. And if you'd like to find out more about how the scheme could help you, go to fscs.org.uk and click on What We Cover. And thank you for joining us on the MoneyMagpie Money Matters podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and generally gush about us, because you know you want to. Today's podcast was presented by me, Jasmine Birtles, and my website is moneymagpie.com. Take a look.